What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 22 of me ranking and reviewing King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard studio albums in the order that they have been released. This is the 22nd, came out in October of 2022, and it is Laminated Denim. Let's get the facts out of the way first, and then we'll just spend the rest of the time drooling over the awesomeness that is this album. The facts. Laminated Denim is an anagram of Made in Thailand, which was an album they had released previously, which was this sort of electronic, 2 15-minute pieces that were designed to be played during intermission at shows, and I think they have been, as I think these are. And this is sort of the spiritual successor to that, and that was 2 songs that were 15 minutes each that had this very metronomic ticking of time type element going through them. These are 2 songs, both 15 minutes each. The metronomic sort of time heartbeat is this, what sounds like a tom drum being just hit, a low bass drum that's kind of establishing this in the very beginning of the album that immediately is just overwhelmed by the sound of a jazzy, proggy, light, bouncy, airy, motoric, krautrock, 2 15-minute songs of absolute King Gizzard perfection. If I have a complaint about this album, it's that it's only 30 minutes long. I could listen to this for an hour. I wish it was an hour. It is 2 songs, very that motoric drive that defines so much of King Gizzard is there, but there really aren't any elements of like the thrash or the heavy psych or the noise psych or that darker side of the band, though the lyrics could be kind of dark. This has a light, airier, jazzier, proggier feel. At times reminds me of Mo, the jam band Mo, things like CIA, Jazzwang, parts of Buster, where they just have these really intricate guitar lines, but it's still kind of this upbeat, the vibe is still going, the groove is still going. Like as you're listening to the guitars do these fancy things, it's not like we're going like super crazy and your mind's getting jumbled up. You're still able to just like, yeah, like bob your head and dance and really enjoy yourself. It's a fantastic album. The first song, The Land Before Time Land, great title. Yes, bow down to 90s dinosaur movies. Kids 90s dinosaur movies, absolutely fantastic title. 15 minutes long. You got that Tom heartbeat coming in the beginning. Then this is kind of reminds me of like Quarters. You have that, but much, I think, looser and freer and jazzier, very upbeat, a lot of just like guitar motifs, a lot of licks just coming through, kind of setting the vibe. You get this very like, you get some like vocals, and then you get like a minute and a half of like instrumental sort of jamming, vocals jamming. That goes on for like pretty much the first 10 minutes. And the guitar, every time the guitars come in, it's like this new idea that they come in with. They're not just kind of repeating it, or they're like revisiting a previous idea, but kind of tweaking it and going forward. Just free and dancing, but at the same time, a lot of little prog elements, a lot of little jazz elements. Kind of sounds like a Sunday afternoon, like, you know, just being in a middle of a field and the band's playing on a beautiful 75-degree day and you're just in the sun and you're dancing and carefree. But while you're dancing and carefree, there's also music that's like incredible enough to like engage with and to actually like invoke. It's not just like dance music. It's like incredibly well thought out, conceived playing, and the musicians are fantastic. But the first 10 minutes is generally this pretty free type back and forth between vocals and instrumentals. Around the 10-minute mark, we get this very spiraling, very prog thing where like they're just, the guitarists are playing lines and the rhythms are starting to get a little more circular and like it almost feels like we're spiraling out of control. And we do that for about a minute or so before then we're free to go off and do other things. Around the 12-minute mark, the groove finally kind of drops for a while and the bass kind of just carries us and things kind of get a little low-key groovy. And then there's this completely different vibe that closes out for the last 3 minutes with these like crazy keyboard swirls that come in, and it's almost like this like prog psyche keyboard jam. And still very much, it's not like this left turn from where we've been, but it's definitely heading off in a slightly different direction. Yeah, from start to finish, like there are so many absolute brilliant pockets of music in this song. Like it's just absolutely fantastic. That's the first song. And like, I was like, it's gonna be weird. So I'm gonna do a top 10 list, a top 10 song list eventually. And right now my top 10 song list is like 50 songs long. I'm gonna narrow that down. And I was like, this first song, how can I not put it on a top 10 song list? Yes, it's half of an entire album, but this thing is like absolutely amazing. And then when I started listening to the second song and revisiting that, I'm like, wouldn't it be crazy if 2 of the top 10 songs of King Gizzard are both on this album? Like this entire album makes the top 10 list? Because the second song kind of starts off with that same jazzy motoric drive, but it's got a different vibe. The guitar players, the rhythm guitar is like doing a lot of like chords and like arpeggiating them and giving it a slightly different feel, maybe a little psychier feel, like maybe a little bit more into the darker side of King Gizzard, but definitely not dark. But there's definitely a little bit of a less jazzy vibe and more of like a psych vibe. But we kind of get the same format for most of the song, where we get vocals and then an instrumental break, vocals and the instrumental break. But every time we hit an instrumental break, it seems like the guitars are coming in with like a completely different idea or a completely different run or these crazy licks. And it's the energy of the song is kind of not going in a different direction, but the guitars are like just giving us a completely different vibe. And that happens almost every time the guitars come in. Around the 2.5 minute mark, the guitars come in and it's playing like these really short, tight, like chords that give it almost a ZZ Top flavor. And then the ZZ Top thing goes off into this like dual Allman Brothers type run that's absolutely amazing. And then around 5:30, the guitars come in with these more like crazy guitar runs after we leave some vocal areas. It's just every time the vocals are done, the guitars are coming in with this new idea. And I think The Land Before Timeland has a lot of different things going for it, but the groove up until like the last 3 minutes is pretty straightforward and it's pretty the same. This hypertension, every time the guitars come in, it almost seems like the intensity is just tightening a little bit. It's getting a little bit, the hypertension is maybe freaking us out a little bit more. Music matching the title of the song. And then we get this incredible part around, I don't know, it's around the 7, no, it's maybe like 10-minute mark where the lyrics start repeating themselves over and over again. We get the same like 2 phrases repeated over again. And of course, as they do that, the craziness of the music underneath just starts like boiling over and getting more and more hectic, but never actually erupts into anything. They finally just kind of go off into another direction, but that tension was built. And then around the 11-minute mark, this really playful little like bass groove comes in that kind of gives it a little different vibe. And then we kind of end out the song with more just kind of jamming and playfulness. And at one point, the music kind of drops low and it's kind of primarily vocals. And then we kind of finish out the thing. Yeah, this is like jazz, jazz, prog, krautrock, motoric, jam band, psych music. It's uplifting, it's positive, it feels good, it's entertaining. The musicians are knocking it out of the ballpark. It is from start to finish. There is not a bad note or a bad moment or anything at any point that's just like, I wish they had done that differently. My only thoughts are, I wish they had, can't we just double the length of each of these jams and make this an hour-long album? Or do they have a third one? Make it a 45-minute album? Give me more of this. It's amazing. Yeah, 2 songs. So that's all I got to say about 2 songs. Where would I rank this album? We're getting to the point where ranking these albums is just plain stupid because they're all pretty fantastic. But I have it all the way at number 7, right behind Murder of the Universe. The heaviness of Murder of the Universe bumps it up a little for me. I really do like those crunchier grooves. And Omnium Gatherum, the first half of that is perfect. I think the second half drops off a little. So I'm sliding Laminated Denim right in between those, only because it's 30 minutes of perfection. Like there's just not a drop. Probably should be higher, but every single one of these albums pretty much from like Polygon to Wonderland from 13 up are like near perfect albums. It really is just coming down to a matter of my personal taste as to where I rank them. But I could see any of those being at the top of anybody's list. Yeah, this band is stupid good, man. It's crazy. It's dumb to rank these. But yeah, it's a top 10 album for sure for being, I think it was released 5 days after my number one on here, Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava. Like it took me 7 days to get to this to review it. They released it 5 days after that previous one. So yeah, it's amazing. I highly recommend it. It is such a joyful. If you're a jam band fan, if you like Mo, if you like some of Fish's lighter stuff, it's got that kind of energy. But it's psych, but it's King Gizzard. So because it's King Gizzard, it kind of doesn't sound like anybody else, even though it reminds me of other people, if that makes sense. But yeah, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic stuff. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Get this album. It's amazing. But that's it. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. Let me know your thoughts on the perfection of this album. And go discover King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard if you haven't, because each of these 22 albums will make your life better for you having heard it. Yeah. All right. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.